right. Welcome everyone to office hours for, this is actually for the rebuttal phase. But you can also ask any questions that you do have about the challenge process itself or just BEAD in general. So next slide. My name is Laura Sasaki. I'm one of the program and project supervisors here at the CPUC in the BEAD branch. And so today, for those of you who this is new for, we'll go through just some housekeeping items and what to expect during this time. And then then we'll jump into questions and answers, and then we'll just wrap up with some reminders. So in terms of the way that we run things here, we'll ask that if you have a question, you put it in the chat. That enables us to kind of see things that come in the order that they come in, and allow us to get through everyone's questions before we go through another round. So what we'll do is we go through the first round of questions, and then making sure that everybody has an opportunity to ask and we can answer them. And then if there's any follow-up questions, then just go ahead and put that in the chat and we will call on you. So with that, the next slide is specific to the BEAD program, just kind of in general. So as we're going through the challenge process, and also this applies to rebuttal as well, we can't provide feedback on specific evidence outside of the challenge process itself, meaning the process that we go through in the portal and the process that we notice everyone on and make available both through our guidance and then any of the communications that we send out through Constant Contact. CPUC is required to follow the rules of the BEAD program, which is administered by NTIA. And from this meeting, we will capture questions and answers, and then we'll post them on the FAQs in our website. As you may have noticed, we are recording this session, so once it is done, we will post it on our website for you to view. So we do have something, I think the next slide is specific to today. We have some evidence requests or some revision requests that have gone out for challenges. And so specifically for fixed wireless evidence and rebuttals, there is a template that's been provided. And so some folks may have questions about that. So I'm going to actually turn this over to Liz Carlton, and she's going to walk through the rebuttal and then the template for the attestation. So Liz, turning it over to you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully this will... Okay, there we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, I need to remove all of the Zoom artifacts from everything. I'm Liz Carlton. I work with CPUC. My background is all things wireless, and I developed this template. This template is for fixed wireless providers to enter their network configurations into a spreadsheet to allow us to assess both the throughput speeds, but also, other information such as license call signs and things of that are required for the challenge process. The instructions are on the first tab. It's broken up into multiple tabs. The first tab was the tower sites. This is a listing of all of the sites that cover any of the BSLs that either have been challenged or that you are, or that the provider is putting into a challenge. The site has a certain name to it: latitude, longitude, which is the location, the elevation of the site, the address, the backhaul type are all required, the backhaul capacity, if it's a freestanding tower, if it's a building, or if it's some other structure type. Also required are the call signs that cover this tower for the licenses that the provider may be using for last mile access. And then if the site's going to be a new tower or if it's an existing tower, The sectors are the antennas that basically hang from the sites. We ask you to put in the name of the parent site. So whatever name you gave the previous site, it needs to be referenced here, as well as a sector ID to reference that given sector. Those can be any kind of character number configurations. We ask for antenna gain, the height above ground level of the antenna, the pointing azimuth of the antenna, reference to true north. So 0 degrees is north, 180 degrees is south, and so forth. Any kind of antenna down tilt, either electrical or mechanical, that you may be using to orient your antenna. There'll be a pattern file associated with that. You'll just give it the name of the file that you're going to attach in your evidence. The maximum power per channel of the channel coming out of the given antenna, any kind of line loss, and then with those two numbers and the antenna gain, the EIRP can be calculated. I ask here for operating frequency bands. Some providers may be using a combination of different bands to get the maximum throughput, and then the total channel bandwidth for the entire bands. And any of the columns here represented in black are to be singular numeric values. And the duplexing scheme, if it's in most cases, it'll be time division duplexing, but if there's any FDD duplexing, please indicate it. Along with that, here's a tab to input the BSL IDs that are associated with the challenge. And their associated latitude, longitude, the elevation of that given location, the addresses, the address information, the EIRP of the CPE, which is the power going out of the antenna, the distance to the serving site, and the bearing looking to the serving site, which is an angle between 0 and 360 degrees. Any losses from the CPE unit to the antenna, most of the time they're usually 0 losses because it's down converted right at the antenna, and any kind of CPE antenna gain. And if the installation is indoor or outdoor. We also ask that either a measured or predicted received signal level, what we call, or RSRP for those 3GPP compliance standards be produced here. And then we ask that a signal quality, which is basically a SINR or an RSRQ value, if you're in 3GPP land, be produced as well. From that, also what the serving sector ID is. So the serving sector ID will be on the previous tab, one of the sectors there. And then what you would expect that downlink throughput to be, not the provision throughput, but what the actual propagation and distance and all of those variables and interference, what the actual propagation will determine what the throughput is. And those kind of tie into, this is the downlink and then the uplink. And those values are typically come from the vendor. There's either a SINR or a received signal level or an RSRQ or RSRP or one of those metrics that are used to map to a given throughput. And the complete modulation table from the vendor needs to be entered in here. And typically you have a corresponding either signal intensity or signal quality to receive a corresponding throughput. And based on, this table, you should be able to map directly into this table based on your vendor. You're the vendor of your choice. Uh, here are some overall fixed network assumptions that we ask. We ask just the maximum downlink and uplink user experience that can be possibly had. Uh, we ask what you consider the latency would be to the edge of your network. We ask that you estimate the average outage time per year in seconds, and then network availability per year and month. And then some design questions about what you think your take rate for the given network you're going to be providing or are providing is. It's basically how many you cover a certain area, how many of those locations do you think will become your customers? And then typically in most fixed wireless networks, there's an oversubscription rate that's assumed. Typical numbers, maybe 10 to 1, 20 to 1, 30 to 1, but those are just typical numbers, no recommendations from CPUC or its consultants. And then for TDD spectrum, we ask that you provide the equipment's downlink to uplink ratio. Typically, it's like a 4.5 to 1 or a 1.75 to 1. It's the ratio of downlink symbols to uplink symbols for the given equipment type. For FDD, for FDD networks, just you can leave it NA or whatever. And then we ask something about some of the antennas, about the number of transmit and receive ports, and the number of MIMO layers supported by your equipment, and what you expect are beamforming and capacity gains. Some of the vendors have what they produce to be expected as overall capacity gains due to advanced antenna algorithms. Any kind of carrier aggregation you may be using, you may want to describe that, and 3GPP type compliant type networks. You may see band 41 being aggregated with band 25 or something like that. You can describe that in that section. And just a brief description of the element management system, if it's 3GPP compliant, where the core is located and all that. If it's non-3GPP compliant, just your best wording of what the vendor has given you here. We ask some generic descriptions of security and user prioritization, any kind of redundancy you have in the network, and a statement guaranteeing that your network is constructed according to industry standards. And that's it. There's a lot of information there, so I would expect that there would be a lot of questions. And so I guess we can start accepting questions. I can't see them, Laura, so I don't know where I go. I'm not.
No, it's okay. I don't think we have any questions yet, but we can go ahead, and if you want to stop sharing, we can just take things down and see if we've got any questions that come through. We'll just kind of hang out here for a little bit and see.
I have to figure out how to stop share. Okay, there we go.
No problem. So if you have any questions, please just put them in the chat, and we'll go through them. We also have Ready here, so if there's a question about what it looks like in the portal, Clay can also do a demo on that. So just let us know. All right, we'll just give another minute to see if we've got any other folks that are going to join with questions. And if not, we can go ahead and move on. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Okay, last call for questions before we just kind of go into what some of the next steps are and wrap up. Okay, Sam, if you want to go ahead and bring the slides up. All right, next slide. So if you're here today, you know that we're doing office hours for the next several weeks. This was the first one kind of before the rebuttal phase, but also as we're closing out the review phase for us here to take a look at the evidence that came in for challenges and ask for additional supporting information if needed. That's closing out, and we will be starting the rebuttal phase on the 21st. So we will continue to have office hours through September 19th, every Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. So please, as we get a little bit further into rebuttal and you have questions about either how to use the portal or what the process is, please join us here for office hours. We, just as a reminder, if you have received a revision request for your challenge, you do have until tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. to get that submitted. We'll be sending out a reminder to folks as well. And also just a thank you to Liz for walking through the template for the fixed wireless. So if you have any additional questions or information on the next slide, we've got just some resources for you, and we can put those links in the chat. So if you have questions specifically around the portal and issues getting into that or help with that, you can email the help desk that Ready has. And then for the general BEAD questions, you'll email us here at the CPUC at bead@cpuc.ca.gov, and we'll be able to respond to that and get back to you. And we have some resources available on our main BEAD page. It's just kind of a history of the program, and also as it pertains to California, just some additional information there. We have a page that has information on the challenge process itself. And then we also have a frequently asked questions page that will be updated throughout the lifespan of the BEAD program. So thank you again for being here with us today. We look forward to seeing you next week and answering any questions that you have about, at this point, it'll be the rebuttal phase. And we hope that you have a great afternoon. Thank you.